You don't overcome laziness by hoping. You beat it by building. Not with sudden bursts of motivation or grand declarations, but with small, consistent actions, especially in the first hour of your day. That's where everything begins. Your mindset, your energy, your decisions. If you win your morning, you give yourself the best chance to win the rest of the day. Laziness doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up quietly in the decision to hit snooze, to scroll for just 5 more minutes, to delay what matters. And before you know it, the day has slipped away and nothing meaningful got done. The worst part? You feel it. That weight of wasted time, that quiet frustration of knowing you were capable of more. But there's a way to stop it, permanently. You don't need to wait for the perfect schedule or the perfect version of yourself. You just need a few key actions, repeated daily, that reshape your rhythm and raise your standard. Today I'm going to share the simple but powerful morning habits that will help you destroy laziness forever. These are the same kinds of habits used by world-class performers and everyday people who decided they were done waiting and ready to build. These aren't tips, they're tools. You can start using them tomorrow morning. You don't have to do all of them at once. Just start with one and build from there. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I walk you through each one and show you how to take your mornings back. One strong decision at a time. Let's dive in. Number 1. Say it out loud. The first morning declaration. The first thing you say in the morning, whether silently in your mind or spoken aloud, sets the tone for everything that follows. And if you don't decide who you are, what matters, and how you intend to show up, then the world will do it for you. That's why one of the simplest and most powerful ways to destroy laziness is to begin your day with a bold personal declaration, spoken out loud. It may sound unusual at first. After all, most people barely speak to themselves at all. They wake up, shuffle into their routine, and let the mood of the day dictate their mindset. But those who rise above mediocrity know the truth. Clarity must be claimed, not waited for. Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock, is a prime example. He doesn't just train his body, he trains his focus every morning before the weights, before the work. He makes a commitment to himself. He says it out loud. It's a promise to stay relentless, stay grounded, and push beyond the excuses. And it's not a show, it's a mindset reset. You can do the same. Stand in front of a mirror, take a breath, and speak one truth about how you're going to lead yourself today. Not what you hope for, not what you like, but what you decide. Say something that cuts through your comfort. Today I will move no matter what. Today I do what I said I'd do. Today I lead, not delay. This practice isn't about affirmations for the sake of hype. It's about building self-trust. When you say something with conviction and follow through, your brain starts to believe you. And when your brain believes you, discipline becomes natural, not forced. Tomorrow, before you touch your phone, before you check the world, speak your standard. Let your voice be the first authority you hear. Say it like you mean it, and then live like you meant it. That's how you destroy laziness from the first breath. Number 2, start with 1 minute of non-negotiable discipline. Laziness doesn't begin with skipping big things. It begins with compromising on the small ones. And one of the most effective ways to interrupt that pattern is by committing to just 1 minute of deliberate, non-negotiable discipline the moment you wake up. It doesn't matter what the action is. What matters is that it's intentional, immediate, and completed without hesitation. Because that 1 minute sets the tone. It tells your mind, we do hard things, even when we don't feel like it. Take Tom Reynolds, a 42-year-old delivery driver from St. Louis, Missouri. After a series of setbacks and long shifts, Tom found himself stuck in a rut. Mornings became sluggish, motivation disappeared. He kept telling himself he needed a major lifestyle change, but he couldn't seem to get started. So he did something deceptively simple. 1 push-up, just 1, every morning right after waking up. No matter how tired he was, that was his rule. It took less than 10 seconds, but the impact was massive. 1 push-up turned into 2, then 5, then a full routine. But more importantly, Tom built a habit of doing something hard right away. No delay, no negotiation. That's what this 1-minute discipline is about. It's not about physical fitness. It's about mindset training. When you take immediate action, you teach your brain that hesitation is not an option. You don't wait for motivation. You become the momentum. You can choose anything. 1 minute of stretching, 1 cold splash of water, 1 handwritten sentence, 1 deep breathing session. Just make it purposeful and make it mandatory. What you're really doing is waking up your identity. You're telling yourself, this day will be different. Not because I feel different, but because I'm acting differently. Don't underestimate how powerful that first minute can be. Done consistently, it becomes a daily declaration that laziness doesn't get a vote. Action does. So tomorrow when the alarm rings, don't overthink. Move. Do something on purpose. Just for 1 minute. And when that minute ends, you'll already be ahead of the version of you that used to wait around. Number 3, lock in your wake-up time and defend it. One of the clearest signs that laziness is taking control is inconsistency. You wake up at 6 a.m. one day, 8 a.m. the next. Sometimes you skip the alarm. Sometimes you don't even remember setting one. You convince yourself it doesn't matter, but it does. If you want to take back your mornings, your time, and your self-discipline, then you need to lock in your wake-up time and defend it like your future depends on it, because it does. When you wake up at the same time every day, you're doing more than building routine. You're sending a message to your subconscious. This is who I am now. And every time you keep that promise, your brain starts to believe you. You begin to see yourself not as someone who wants to be disciplined, but as someone who is. Angela Duckworth, author of the best-selling book Grit, understands this deeply. Her research on perseverance and long-term success shows that consistency beats intensity over time. Angela keeps her mornings predictable and anchored by the same wake-up time, even when her workload shifts. She doesn't wake up early just to say she's productive. She does it because the discipline of starting strong gives her the mental edge needed for focused work. And that edge doesn't show up randomly, it's built through rhythm. Here's why this matters. Every time you hit snooze or delay your wake-up time, you're weakening your inner authority. You're telling yourself that your own rules can be bent, pushed, ignored. That's how laziness starts, not with a major failure, but with small exceptions repeated until they become habits. But when you lock in your wake-up time and protect it, you build a foundation that everything else can stand on. Even if the rest of your day is unpredictable, that one action is solid. It becomes your anchor. And it only takes a few days of consistency to feel the shift. You'll feel more in control, more alert, more like someone who leads the day instead of being led by it. Start by choosing a time that challenges you slightly, but is realistic. Set it. Stick to it. No snooze, no excuses. Get up, even if you don't feel ready. Because readiness comes after movement, not before. Discipline begins at the sound of the alarm. And when you win that first battle each day, you send a message to laziness that today, it doesn't stand a chance. Number 4, prepare your clothes and your mind. It's easy to think of getting dressed as just a routine part of the morning, something you do without much thought. But if you look closer, it's far more powerful than that. What you wear each morning is a message to yourself, a signal that today matters. And that signal has the power to crush laziness before it even begins. When you stay in pajamas until noon, or wear the same wrinkled shirt for the 3rd day in a row, you're not just being casual, you're reinforcing passivity. You're telling your brain, today isn't worth showing up for. And from that small message, your entire posture, mindset, and energy begin to follow. That's exactly what Samantha Blake, a 35-year-old stay-at-home mom from Phoenix, Arizona, realized when she hit her breaking point. After months of feeling stuck, exhausted, and overwhelmed by the daily grind of motherhood, she noticed a pattern. She was waking up, staying in her robe and never feeling truly on. She didn't feel like herself anymore. So she made one decision. Every morning, she would get dressed like she was meeting someone important. Not because anyone would see her, but because she would. Within days, her energy shifted. She started walking taller, thinking sharper, and moving through her day with more control. Her tasks didn't change, but she did. This isn't about fashion or impressing anyone. It's about intention. When you choose what to wear with purpose, you tell your brain that the day matters. You step into the mindset of someone who respects their time and appearance, even if no one else is watching. The act of preparing your clothes the night before can multiply this effect. It eliminates morning decisions and sets a tone of order and readiness. It's a small discipline, but it triggers larger ones. Because when you start your day with care, you tend to carry that care into everything else you do. Laziness feeds on comfort, but discipline feeds on identity. And when you dress like someone who has things to do, your actions begin to follow that identity, even if it's just inside your own home. So tomorrow, lay out your clothes tonight. Get like it counts, because it does. And when you show up looking like someone who's ready to lead the day, laziness gets left behind in yesterday's wardrobe. Number 5, touch one goal before breakfast. There's a hidden power in what you do before the world wakes up. And one of the simplest ways to build that power is to touch one of your personal goals before breakfast. Not just think about it, not just plan it, but take one small step toward it, physically, mentally, or creatively. Because when you move towards something meaningful before your first bite of food, you flip a switch. You prove to yourself that your goals matter now, not later. Most people start their day by reacting, checking emails, scrolling social media, tending to someone else's priorities. They tell themselves they'll get to their goals later, but later gets buried under distractions. And by the end of the day, there's nothing left. Stephen King, the legendary author, takes a different approach. Every morning he sits down to write before anything else. Before calls, before meetings, before breakfast. He doesn't wait for inspiration. He starts moving. And that early motion turns into momentum. Over decades, this one habit has helped him produce more than 60 novels and countless short stories. He doesn't treat writing like a hobby. He treats it like his responsibility, and he acts on it first. You don't have to be an author. You don't need hours of time. Just 5 to 10 minutes, focused on one goal, can rewire your brain. Write a paragraph. Do a few reps. Read one page. Outline a business idea. Whatever it is, engage with it. That action tells your brain, this is who I am. Someone who moves toward what matters. Doing this before breakfast serves a second purpose. It puts your priorities above your appetite. You're feeding your future before you feed your body. That alone can shift how you carry yourself through the rest of the day. And here's what's even more powerful. When you touch your goal early, your brain keeps working on it in the background. Even when you're doing other tasks, you stay connected to that mission, and that quiet alignment creates clarity and purpose all day long. Laziness thrives when your goals feel distant, but when you touch them first thing, they become real, tangible, immediate. So tomorrow morning, ask yourself, what small part of my goal can I touch before breakfast? And then do it. No overthinking, no perfection, just action. Start the day by feeding your ambition, and watch how fast laziness loses its grip. Number 6, clear one spot. Clear your mind. Laziness often hides in clutter. It's not always loud or dramatic. It sneaks in through small messes and unchecked spaces. A cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind. And when your surroundings feel heavy and disorganized, your energy starts matching that. That's why one of the most underrated morning habits is this. Clear one spot with full intention. It could be your desk, your nightstand, the corner of your kitchen table. It doesn't matter how small the space is. What matters is that you clean it completely and deliberately. Not just to tidy up, but to remind yourself that you're in charge here, that the day will begin in order, not chaos. Take Derek Miles, a high school football coach in Cleveland, Ohio. His days are packed. Early practices, staff meetings, game planning. For a while, his mornings were a blur of coffee cups, gear bags, and scattered papers. He kept telling himself he'd get organized this end, but it never happened, and the mess slowly drained his motivation. One day, he decided to change that by tackling just one thing, his workbench in the garage. Every morning for 5 minutes, he straightened it up, put the tools back in place, wiped it down, It seemed small, but the effect was massive. That one act of order became a ritual, a reset button for his mindset. He felt more in control, more capable, and that energy flowed into the rest of his day. You don't need to clean your entire house, just one spot. But here's the key. Do it with focus. No multitasking, no background noise, just you, the space, and the decision to make it better. Laziness thrives where disorder lives. But when you bring order, even to a single corner, you interrupt the lazy pattern. You signal to yourself, I don't ignore things, I handle them. That identity begins to replace the one that delays, avoids, or overlooks. Plus, a clean space invites action. A clear desk makes it easier to start writing. An organized kitchen encourages healthier choices. A neat entryway makes it easier to get out the door with energy. So tomorrow morning, look around. Pick one area. Clean it fully, wipe it down, reset it. And as you do, remind yourself, this is the kind of person I am. Someone who clears space for focus, for movement, for momentum. Because when your space is in order, your thoughts start falling into order too. And laziness has no place in a mind that's already decided to move. Number 7. Move first. Think later. Laziness doesn't always start in the mind. Sometimes it starts in the body. You wake up, lay still, stare at the ceiling, and before long your thoughts begin negotiating. 5 more minutes. I'll start later. I just need to wake up a little more. But the longer you think, the easier it becomes to do nothing. That's why one of the most effective morning habits is this. Move first, think later. The body leads the mind more often than we realize. If you sit in place, your brain stays sleepy. But if you stand up, stretch, or move, your thoughts catch up. Action wakes you up faster than coffee ever could. Look at David Goggins. He's known for pushing himself to extremes, but what separates him isn't just his toughness, it's his refusal to negotiate with his thoughts first thing in the morning. He doesn't ask, do I feel like running today? He laces up his shoes and starts moving. And once he moves, his mind follows. That's how he maintains momentum. Even on the days he doesn't feel like it. You don't need to run ultra marathons. You don't even need to leave the house. Just move. Step out of bed and do 10 jumping jacks. Walk to the end of the block. Stretch with purpose for 60 seconds. It's not about how long, it's about who's in charge. Your body, not your mood. When you move immediately, you disrupt the lazy loop. You don't give your brain time to invent excuses. You change your state before your thoughts start running wild. And that one move can reset your entire day. Here's the truth. Action creates energy, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel energized. You earn energy by doing something with your body. The movement doesn't just wake you up physically, it builds a psychological shift. You go from passive to active, from slow to strong. People who master their mornings don't rely on motivation. They rely on rhythm. And that rhythm begins with physical movement. Something simple, something consistent, something that reminds you that this day belongs to you, not to your feelings, not to your doubts, not to your distractions. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't think, don't plan, don't wait, move. Take one physical action with full intent, and by the time your mind wakes up and starts speaking, it will already have to catch up with the progress you've made. That's how you win the first 5 minutes. And when you win those, laziness doesn't get to win the rest. Number 8. Take a cold step into your day. Comfort is the breeding ground of laziness. The more you protect yourself from discomfort, the easier it becomes to delay, avoid, and drift. But when you begin your day by stepping directly into something cold, sharp, and uncomfortable, something your lazy mind would rather skip, you send a powerful message: I lead, not comfort. That's why one of the most effective habits to destroy laziness is to start your day with a cold step, a cold shower, a splash of ice water on your face. Even just standing on a cold floor with bare feet. It doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to wake you up and push you out of your comfort zone on purpose. Take Brenda Carter, a 29-year-old barista from Seattle, Washington. After a tough breakup and a series of financial struggles, she found herself falling into a slump. Her mornings were slow, her energy was low, and her motivation was non-existent. One day, scrolling through a video about mental reset rituals, she heard about cold showers. Skeptical but desperate for change, she tried it. The first one lasted 10 seconds. The next day, 15. Within a week, Brenda wasn't just taking cold showers, she was reclaiming her mornings. She said the shock of cold water was like flipping a mental switch. Her body resisted it, but her mind got sharper. And over time, her mornings got stronger, her productivity went up, and her confidence returned. The power isn't in the cold, it's in the decision to face it. When you deliberately choose discomfort first thing in the morning, you become the type of person who doesn't hide from challenges. You build mental toughness. You create momentum before the world even gets a chance to slow you down. Cold exposure isn't just physical, it's symbolic. It's you proving to yourself that comfort doesn't run your life. That fear of being uncomfortable isn't going to stop you from moving forward. And once you face that little resistance, you're far more likely to handle the bigger ones that come later in the day. You don't need a fancy cold plunge. Start small. End your warm shower with 30 seconds of cold water. Wash your face with ice-cold water before you brush your teeth. Open the window for a moment and take 3 deep breaths. Let the discomfort wake you up, shake you out of hesitation, and remind you you are stronger than you feel. Because every time you take that cold step, laziness takes a step back. And that's a win worth earning. Number 9. Eliminate one excuse before the world wakes up. Laziness isn't always about doing nothing. Often it hides behind perfectly logical sounding excuses. I'm too tired. I'll do it when things calm down. I don't have everything I need yet. These excuses feel true in the moment. But over time, they rob you of progress, momentum, and self-respect. That's why one of the most effective habits to practice each morning is this. Eliminate one excuse before the world even wakes up. Start your day by calling out the lie your lazy mind wants you to believe, and replace it with something stronger. This isn't about guilt or pressure. It's about clarity. When you identify and remove just one excuse from mental space, you create room for movement, not hesitation. Ryan Holiday, author of The Obstacle is the Way, practices this daily through stoic journaling. Each morning before checking his phone or starting his work, he sits down with a pen and a notebook. And in that quiet space, he asks himself, what lie am I most tempted to believe today? Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's doubt. But by writing it down, he diffuses it. He exposes the excuse before it gains strength. And that awareness gives him the upper hand. You can do the same. You don't need to journal for an hour. Just take a minute and ask yourself, what's the one excuse that's likely to hold me back today? Write it down. Speak it out loud. And then counter it with a stronger thought. Something like, yes, I'm tired, but I've done great things while tired before. Or, no, it's not the perfect time, but perfect never comes. Excuses are like weeds. They grow in silence. But once exposed, they lose their grip. And when you make a habit of calling them out every morning, your brain begins to shift. It starts looking for solutions instead of exits. It starts focusing on action instead of avoidance. This doesn't mean you'll never feel resistance again. It just means you'll be ready when it shows up. Because you've already heard the voice of delay, and you've already decided it doesn't get to lead. So tomorrow, before you get busy, before the noise begins, sit in stillness. Find the excuse. Face it. Replace it, and move forward. That small act of mental discipline might seem quiet, but it's how leaders are built. One honest thought at a time. When you remove the excuse, laziness loses its disguise. And when the disguise is gone, so is its power. Number 10. Track one win from yesterday. Laziness often grows in the shadow of forgetfulness. You forget what you did well. You forget how far you've come. You forget that progress isn't just about giant leaps. It's about consistent steps. And when you overlook your small victories, you begin to believe that what you do doesn't matter. That's when laziness sneaks in. That's why one of the most powerful morning habits is this. track one win from yesterday. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Maybe you made your bed when you didn't feel like it. Maybe you spoke up when you usually stay quiet. Maybe you walked away from a distraction. Whatever it was, acknowledge it. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let your mind remember that you are making progress, even if it doesn't always feel like it. Nick Saunders, a 21-year-old college student in Atlanta, Georgia, started using this habit during one of the most overwhelming semesters of his life. He was juggling classes, a part-time job, and the pressure of figuring out his future. Most mornings, he woke up anxious, already behind before the day even began. But then he tried something different. Before doing anything else, he wrote down just one thing he did right the day before. The first day, it was I studied for 20 minutes without checking my phone. The next day, I finished that assignment early. As the list grew, something shifted. He started seeing himself as capable, not behind. That shift in identity pushed him to take more action, because now he had proof that he was someone who followed through. You can use the same method. Keep a small notebook beside your bed or on your desk. Each morning, ask yourself, what's one thing I did yesterday that I'm proud of? And don't skip over the stuff. Small wins stacked daily lead to massive confidence over time. When you start the day focused on what's working, your brain becomes more alert, more optimistic, more ready to take action. You stop carrying yesterday's failures. You start building on yesterday's victories. And that momentum becomes a weapon against laziness. Laziness loves to whisper, "You're not getting anywhere." This habit shuts that voice down, because now you've got proof. You're moving forward, one win at a time. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up and rush into the day. Pause, reflect, track your win, let it fuel you. Because success isn't just about what you do today, it's also about remembering what you've already done. Number 11, listen to your inner standard, not external noise. The moment you wake up, the world wants your attention. Notifications buzz. Headlines scream. Messages arrive before your feet hit the floor. If you're not careful, you'll start your day reacting instead of leading. And that's the perfect environment for laziness to grow, when your mind is too distracted to remember what you stand for. That's why one of the most critical morning habits is this. Listen to your inner standard before you hear the outside world. Your inner standard is your personal compass. It's the quiet voice that reminds you who you want to become. But that voice gets drowned out quickly if you begin your day scrolling, comparing, or absorbing noise that isn't yours. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most grounded and successful figures in the world, protects her mornings like sacred ground. She doesn't begin her day with news, emails, or social media. Instead, she starts in stillness with meditation, journaling, or reflection. That's how she stays connected to her values, her vision, and her energy, before the world tries to pull her into 1,000 directions. You don't need a full hour of silence. Even 5 minutes of reflection can anchor you. Sit with a cup of coffee. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what do I expect from myself today? What do I want to bring to this day? No matter what happens around me. That's your inner standard. And when you begin from that place, you walk into your day with clarity, not confusion. External noise is constant. It tells you what to wear, what to think, what to fear, and what to chase. But it never gives you peace. It keeps you scrolling, searching, and second-guessing. Laziness often disguises itself in that noise, because the more overwhelmed you are, the easier it becomes to do nothing. But when you begin your day grounded in your own standard, everything changes. You're no longer pulled by trends or timelines. You're driven by purpose. You take responsibility not just for your schedule, but for your mindset. So tomorrow, before checking your phone, take a moment of silence. No headlines. No messages, no updates, just you. Ask, what does my best look like today? What do I expect from myself? Then carry that standard into everything you do, because laziness can't survive in a mind that knows what it stands for. And once you let your own voice lead, the noise of the world no longer gets to decide your direction. You do. Number 12, reflect in silence, even just 2 minutes. In a world filled with noise, silence is rare and powerful. Most people wake up and immediately surround themselves with sound. Alarms, podcasts, music, messages, updates. It starts the second their eyes open. But when you begin your day already overwhelmed, your ability to focus weakens, and laziness takes advantage of that fog. That's why one of the most effective morning habits is this: spend at least 2 minutes in complete silence to reflect before the noise begins. This isn't about being spiritual or philosophical. It's about giving your brain a moment to catch up with your life, to check in with yourself before the world checks in with you. Silence helps you become aware of your energy, your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions. And from that awareness, you gain control. Kevin Hall, a 47-year-old warehouse manager in Detroit, Michigan, didn't grow up with mindfulness practices. But after years of waking up exhausted, stressed, and reactive, he knew something had to change. So instead of reaching for his phone first thing in the morning, he started stepping out onto his porch with nothing but a cup of coffee in the morning air. For 2 to 3 minutes, he just sat. No thinking, no planning, just being. He listened to the quiet. He watched the sky. And slowly his mind began to settle. What surprised him most wasn't the peace. It was the clarity. He started noticing patterns in his thinking. He started realizing what actually mattered and what didn't. And that clarity carried into his work, his leadership, and his ability to stay focused when things got tough. You can do this anywhere. Sit by your window, step outside, stay in bed with your eyes open. Just commit to a couple of minutes with no distraction. Don't fill the space. Let it be quiet. Your mind might resist at first. It's used to noise. But that discomfort is a sign you're doing something meaningful. You're separating yourself from the chaos and connecting with your own center. Laziness loves mental clutter. It thrives in minds that are always scattered. But silence creates space. And in that space, you can remember who you are and what you're doing. You can notice your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. So tomorrow morning, before the notifications, before the conversations, give yourself the gift of 2 quiet minutes. Reflect, breathe, reset. Because when your mind starts from peace, your actions start with power. And laziness doesn't stand a chance. Number 13, direct your mind. Before it drifts, the mind is like a car without a driver in the morning. It wants to roll, but if you don't grab the wheel, it'll drift wherever the road takes it. And more often than not, that road leads to distraction, self-doubt, and procrastination. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do to destroy laziness is this: give your brain a job before it wanders off. The first thoughts you feed your mind shape everything else. If you start the day with clutter, news, gossip, random scrolling, your focus gets hijacked. But if you start with something intentional, you train your brain to follow your direction instead of reacting to everything around you. Warren Buffett is a perfect example of this principle. Known for his unmatched clarity and calm decision-making, Buffett begins his day with reading, sometimes for hours. But it's not just the act of reading, it's the habit of directing his mind. He chooses what to focus on. He filters what gets in. And that discipline is part of why he's stayed sharp for decades. Before the world tries to influence him, he decides what's worth thinking about. You don't need to read for hours like Buffett, but you do need to give your mind an assignment early. It could be reading one powerful paragraph, writing down your top 3 priorities, reflecting on a quote, asking a question like, what problem am I solving today? The point is, you're choosing the starting line, not leaving it up to chance. When your brain is directed, laziness has less room to creep in. Because laziness loves vague mornings. It loves confusion. But when you start the day with mental clarity, you start living from the inside out, not the outside in. And don't wait until your day gets going. Do this before the noise hits, before the emails, before the text, before your schedule grabs you. The earlier you claim your focus, the longer you control your direction. This habit doesn't take long, 2 to 5 minutes, but it creates a ripple effect. Your tasks feel more purposeful. Your distractions lose their grip. You're not just doing things, you're doing the right things. So tomorrow morning, before your mind wanders, direct it. Point it somewhere on purpose. Remind yourself who's in control. Because when you train your mind to follow your lead, you stop drifting and you start driving. And that's how you leave laziness in the dust. Number 14. Make one decision that builds momentum. Momentum isn't something you find, it's something you create. And the way you create it is through a single, clear decision made early in the day. Not a huge life plan, not a dramatic shift. Just one specific choice that moves you forward. That's why one of the strongest habits for killing laziness is this. Make one decision every morning that builds momentum. It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be real. Something you can act on. Something that says, I'm in motion, because the moment you make that decision and act on it, you move from passivity to power. You stop waiting for the day to push you. You push the day. Tina Caldwell, an artist and small business owner in Denver, Colorado, knows exactly how this works. After struggling for years with creative slumps and inconsistent routines, she started practicing a morning ritual before 9 a.m. she had to make and follow through on one meaningful decision. Some days it was to finish a sketch. Other days it was to send an email she'd been avoiding or spend 30 minutes organizing her studio. Small actions, yes, but they added up because they created flow. That flow led to confidence. Confidence led to bigger moves. And within 6 months, she had launched her own online store, booked 2 art shows, and stopped waiting for inspiration to magically appear. All from building momentum, one decision at a time. Here's what's powerful. Your brain loves completion. When you make a choice and act on it, your mind gets a burst of clarity. It starts looking for the next thing to complete. That's how one decision becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. And laziness. It gets drowned out in motion. But if you skip that first decision, if you let the morning drift, you stay in neutral. You start reacting. And when your whole day is reaction, it's easy to feel like you're busy but going nowhere. So what kind of decision should you make? It could be sending that message, starting that task, finishing the thing you've been putting off. Doesn't matter how big or small. What matters is that it creates movement. Tomorrow morning, ask yourself, what's one decision I can make now that my future self will thank me for by noon? Then do it. Not later, not perfectly. Just do it. That single act might seem small, but it creates a wave. And when you ride that wave, laziness gets left behind on the shore. Number 15. Ask the morning question, who am I becoming today? Every day, whether you realize it or not, you're building a life. And that life is shaped not by what you say you want, but by what you do. Especially in the quiet, early hours when no one else is watching. That's why one of the most transformational morning habits is this. Ask yourself one powerful question. Who am I becoming today? This question doesn't just pull you out of bed, it pulls you forward. It makes you pause, reflect, and make decisions based on who you want to be, not just how you feel in the moment. And that shift from reactive to intentional is exactly what laziness can't survive. Matthew McConaughey, the Academy Award-winning actor and best-selling author, talks openly about asking himself a similar question every day. He doesn't just measure success by roles or awards, he focuses on the man he's becoming. Each morning he checks in with his values, his direction, and his choices. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. When you start your day by asking, who am I becoming today? You reconnect with your bigger vision. You don't just think about tasks, you think about identity. Am I becoming more focused, more courageous, more consistent, more patient, more committed? This question puts you in the driver's seat. It reminds you that your habits are shaping your character, that how you handle this morning, this hour, this moment, isn't just about today. It's building your future. You don't need a journal or a long meditation session. You just need 60 quiet seconds to reflect. Stand in front of the mirror, sit at the edge of your bed, look yourself in the eye, and ask the question, not with pressure, but with honesty. Because once you're clear on who you're becoming, what to do next becomes obvious. The reason this works so well is because it reframes the day. Most people wake up asking, what do I have to do today? That's a survival question. But when you ask, who am I becoming today? That's a leadership question. That's the question that moves you toward growth instead of comfort. So tomorrow morning, before anything else, take a deep breath and ask it, who am I becoming today? And then act like the answer already lives in you. Make your choices from that place. Move with that version of yourself in mind. Because when your mornings begin with purpose, your days unfold with power. And laziness, it simply can't survive when you know exactly who you're working to become. Laziness doesn't disappear because you want it to. It disappears because you build a routine so strong, so purposeful, that laziness has no room left to breathe. The truth is, you don't need more motivation. You need better mornings. You need small, powerful habits that train your body, mind, and identity to move, lead, and decide before the world tells you otherwise. You've just walked through 15 of those habits. Simple, actionable, effective. Not theories, but tools. You've learned how to declare your intention out loud, how to commit to just 1 minute of discipline, how to wake up at the same time and honor your own schedule. You've seen how dressing with purpose, touching your goals before breakfast, and clearing a small space can shift your energy in seconds. You've discovered the power of movement before thinking, the courage of cold, and the strength that comes from confronting excuses. You've seen how reflection, direction, and one intentional decision can create momentum that lasts all day. And finally, you've been reminded to ask the question that matters most. Who am I becoming today? These aren't just productivity hacks, they're habits of self-leadership. Habits that build confidence, clarity, and consistency. They take the lazy version of you and slowly replace it with someone who gets things done. Someone who follows through. Someone who doesn't wait for perfect conditions, but creates forward motion, one intentional morning at a time. So now the task is yours. Not to master all 15 at once, not to change your life overnight, but to pick one, just one. Start tomorrow morning with it. Stick to it, then another and another. This is how you build a foundation that laziness can't survive in, through daily decisions that reflect the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. Because your future isn't built by chance. It's built by what you do before the world wakes up. And every time you rise with discipline, every time you act with purpose, you make it harder for laziness to come back. So take control, set your standard, and lead your mornings like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. Your move starts now, not later, not someday. Tomorrow morning, make one decision that proves the lazy version of you is no longer in charge. One habit, one action, one strong morning at a time. That's how you destroy laziness forever.